intro today. This is the Lost Art Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have an absolute all-star crew here. We've got Brian Tranfaglia, guitarist for Lost Art. Say hello.
Ooh, hey, folks.
That's
how we
his
doing?
noise, I guess.
How we doing?
Okay, you sound great. We've got Chris Tippins over there, other guitarist, and just the worst person I've ever seen. And, of course, we have friend of the band, a longtime friend of the band, Evan Martinez, just back from his cross-country trip, here to tell us all kinds of things we are not going to ask about.
Give it up.
Yeah. So
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, everybody listening at home. I know.
yeah. If you hear any mic noises, that's
hundreds of listeners.
That's Evan, because he doesn't know how we do this.
I am using a mic for the first time.
Anyway, Lost Art is our metal band from southeast area, Massachusetts. If you haven't heard of us, I don't know how the fuck you found this podcast, but go check out our music on Spotify, Apple Music. It's all the places. Follow us on Facebook. We do all of that stuff. We're really trying to make something of our music career here, and we're having a good time doing it. And today I wanted to, with the inclusion of Evan here, who obviously is not a member of the band, not even really a musician in any real sense. That's probably a little harsh. you do something.
That.
Do you like music, bro?
I hate music. It's my least favorite thing in the world, so I'm really happy you guys are having me.
I'm so happy you said that.
That's the prompt today. Right?
Oh, and also you guys are my least favorite band.
I joined the club.
Same, dude.
Yeah. But so I wanted to kind of broaden the topic a little bit today to talk about, something that's going to be where our band is going to be relevant to it, but also where you can be involved in the conversation about music generally. And that topic is the democratization of music that's been brought about by home studios, making it services like DistroKid, making it easier for people to upload to Spotify, Apple Music, those types of things, the types of things that we're benefiting from. Is that good for music in general? So what got me thinking about this is that we put out our EP recently, From the Ether. Again, check that out. Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere you get music. That's not something that we would have been able to do even 10, 20 years ago, I think. Never mind all of the eras of music that we're interested in, 60s, 70s, 80s. It took, a lot of production value, money, time to put behind any band, to really get them on the scene. So with that not really being a barrier to entry anymore, there's a lot more options for people, but maybe it kind of disperses people's interest and makes it more difficult for real talent to break out. And I'm not claiming that we're one of those by any means. We're actually probably one of those bands that's just filler dispersing
You don't
people's
even know
interest.
talent. No talent. No talent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, let's kind of break into that here. I mean, Evan, let's start with you, man. You are a person who has almost no overlap with my music taste, for instance. Where do you find your music these days?
I think you'd be surprised. But
there is some overlap for sure, but I think all those things you gave a shout out to are good places to find music. But I also want to say Bandcamp is a very good
We were talking about
independent
that
source
that
has come in very clutch for a lot of independent artists these days, huh?
So I don't know too much about Bandcamp, despite being on it in kind of a limited presence is what we have over there. But I don't know
single foot in the door.
Yeah, I know very little about being on there as like a user looking for new music. Of course, I know, if there's a local band that I'm checking out, I'm like, oh, let's see what their discography is. If for some reason they're not on Spotify or Apple Music, I know that I can seek them out on Bandcamp, but I wouldn't know how to go about finding new music that's in a vein I'm already interested in, but a band maybe I've never heard of before. What's that like as a user for you?
So a lot of the times it's you can have like recommendations based on your account. It'll be like any other music service like Spotify or something where it recommends you bands, but it's completely free, I think, as far as I know.
When we were doing things a while ago, trying to kind of get into the really like preliminary round of recording, I checked out Bandcamp and I made us one just because, like Evan said, it's free. And the thing with Spotify or Apple Music or whatever is you do need that middleman that is, in our case, DistroKid, to do that stuff. So I thought it was cool that, Bandcamp's very like DIY, like most of this stuff, which is, if we had the files, like, you do remember Red.
Yeah, it's still on there.
Piece of shit. So, but that took 5 minutes to get the file, upload it, and now we have stuff where people can see our stuff. And I mean, granted, we didn't get many listens, but it was nice to be able to put that stuff out there. And SoundCloud,
That's a bad one.
that was horrible.
About as dissonant as it could get.
Yeah, no, but so that was when. Like when From Sand to Sea came out, I put that up on SoundCloud, and
Yeah,
I think I
we
even
still have
and I think I put it up on Bandcamp too. And so we got a couple of listens just because that was when we were first starting out. We had just done our first recording project, and we had no clue how to put things on Spotify.
Yeah.
I sure as hell didn't know.
What is that process like?
Well, we don't really have the guy here who would talk about that with.
That's all Casey.
Yeah, I mean, as I understand it, DistroKid is it's exactly what it is. It's like a distribution kind of middleman platform that, you pay, I guess, kind of just like a flat rate. And
like per year or something.
And you can upload stuff and
reasonable.
You can
Very
time
affordable.
out. Yeah, and you can time out when it goes on. So like Casey had, kind of a week in advance that From the Ether was going to get released at like a specific time on that Friday morning before the show and everything. So
And anyone can get this service. Like,
anyone, yeah.
Any band can get this.
Yeah, you pay for, like I said, it's just a flat rate. Singles are different than albums, but other than that, it's like pretty easy.
That was slightly better. I
little
felt
better.
maybe a couple of us matched up.
I think I
Definitely
just keep going back and forth between the same note, just doing an octave.
Let's go for a C sharp now.
I'm going for an E flat major.
So yeah, it's funny though, because was it you that mentioned or maybe Brian, that a lot of bands will have their merch on Bandcamp now
Yeah.
too.
That's something I like about it a lot.
Yeah.
is that it's like an all-in-one platform. You can sell anything
It
you
is
want.
sweet.
through your
That is
Bandcamp
cool.
site.
That is really cool.
Yeah, that might be a good application of it for us because we don't have an online presence in terms of merch. I mean, we have the table at every like third or fourth gig or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys aren't selling any merch online.
Exactly.
No,
and
not at the
we,
moment, yeah.
We really should be.
It would be really easy.
well,
for
you
guys to set that up, I think.
You know what's the thing that I think about all the time when I think about that stuff is like, okay, now what does our distribution end look like? We got to do the legwork of getting boxes, putting stuff in boxes, putting stuff, so it's like, not to make it sound like that's impossible. It's not.
That
But
brings
just
us
it's
to our
another,
sponsor today, Shit Station.
it's another, it's
I
another
have a bit about that for
logistical,
later.
it's another logistical thing we'd have to work out, very much
right.
like just even the simple stuff, like who's hanging out at the merch table during what point of the show or whatever. So,
It's funny when we're talking about SoundCloud, Bandcamp. I think the artists that benefit most from those platforms are outside of our genre, and you hear the SoundCloud rappers. I think what was it, Extentacion and Juice World, and the big one that comes to my mind is Chance the Rapper. Right? I mean that dude.
did he get started on SoundCloud?
I don't know if he was on those platforms, but I mean those first 3 albums, which I know we all hold in high regard.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 3 of us, minus you, Josh.
I'm just not educated.
Those were all independently produced,
Right.
no major label.
Right.
And I'll never forget him getting on stage at the Grammys and accepting his first award after
Coloring book.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
After he dropped that one, and that was a big pivotal moment, I thought, for independent artists as a whole.
Yeah.
And again, back to Josh's point, you wouldn't have seen that in the 70s, 80s. We now
It
have
was so hard to produce music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and-
it's funny. Actually, sorry. Finish what you're saying.
Yeah,
I do
well,
have a point to that.
Well, it's
though.
just like artists have the ability now to take their craft into their own hands, cut out the middleman,
Yeah.
and can really just build these home studios, similar to like what we did with Dustin,
Yeah,
Almeida,
yeah.
and we're able to pump out a whole album without a major label or
Yeah.
you
You
have
don't
too many
need
cooks in the
money.
kitchen,
Right,
essentially.
right. You know what it is. So it's funny that Evan's here because this ties in very closely to you. Is that a lot of my attitude towards how I've wanted to do music comes from like the early like hardcore punk stuff, Black Flag, Minor Threat, like DIY or die type of attitude, which I always thought was really cool because, you know, it became like, you know, I mean, it's easy when it's punk because you're not necessarily worried about things sounding pretty because that's part of it. But but just, you know, like NoFX being, you know, just this huge band that, you know, plays all over the world, has all these albums, but was never signed to a major record label.
Yeah, and
you know?
starting their own record labels.
Right, and then they
doing
did
things more
that, which is
independently.
so, you know, you have a few success stories in there, but that was always something that motivated me.
Yeah. It's always been a thing, I think, making things independently, but it's so much easier now.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
production
100%.
quality is pretty much professional.
Yeah, which
in
is really
making
cool.
something from your
You
house.
do this shit on your iPhone.
I've learned it's
essentially.
just a money and knowledge thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we have a perfectly good basement. If we had, you know, we had an extra $5,000 lying around, we get a nice Mac, we get a Kemper, and we get some 2 nice big speakers.
It's gonna be
But
more than that. Big
But you
Tune.
understand what I'm saying, you know that. But it's like it's in the same way that, you know, like social media or TikTok or whatever for people that, you know, make art projects, or, you know, I saw like a girl that just does like crazy hair design and people that do crazy makeup design. Like it's, you know, a platform that's like putting it in people's hands. So that's kind of what DistroKid and this whole home studio thing has kind of been for us. That's how I look at it.
And I think I wanted to go off. I mean, you guys were talking about SoundCloud rappers earlier, and I think they're kind of a poster child for a larger issue of. I think there's a lot of cynicism out there about, again, the democratization of this process that makes it easier for, like, oh, you know, it's just some idiot with a laptop and they can edit things, and you know, people who really suck and wouldn't break out otherwise.
You're not good until you pay somebody to do
Yeah,
it. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So, and I don't think we could rightfully get on that bandwagon, having benefited from that exact same process
Right.
ourselves, and not necessarily being great either. I mean, we like what we do, obviously, and we're proud of that. But there's you know, for everybody who can talk shit about SoundCloud rappers, there's probably somebody who could talk shit about what we do. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, I guess I have a very dramatized version of how bands got big back in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, because you have a bunch of people that, you know, probably have garage bands, or they know somebody and they go to a club and they start playing, and it's like, you know, there's a guy in the audience that's like, hey, I work for this company, you know, I like your sound.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like how
Marvin
else?
Berry?
But you know what
Back
I
to the
mean? Like
future.
how so I guess let me answer that with a question: is how did people get big in the 70s and 80s?
you know
How did
what's
that
funny?
how does that happen?
So I
We just
want to
know
jump
from
in.
movies.
What are your guys' interpretations of how that happens?
So I want to jump into this. I actually over the holidays, you know, talking to one of my older cousins, actually cousin of my grandmother, and you know, he gave me a really good perspective, and he said, you know, we were talking about Pink Floyd in particular, and he said, you know, back in those days, you know, Pink Floyd, The Doors, it would start on the West Coast, and he said, like, it would take months for that hype to come across the country
Yeah.
and get over to the East, and so like. In today's world where you can just pop up overnight,
Right.
that was not the case. So in many ways, it was harder for them back in the
But
day.
that's what I'm saying is like, so when you say for that hype, where does the hype come from to begin with?
it's
It was
just
more word of mouth, right? You
it's
know,
word of
Okay,
mouth.
that's
it's,
okay,
It's,
yeah.
It's not like
it's
it
the
is now.
bootleg copies of the
Yes,
albums,
okay, yes.
working their
Yeah,
way
yeah.
across. It's the bands touring, eventually getting out to bigger cities.
Yeah.
And you know, that's like, you know, you always think of a guy like Jimi Hendrix, right? He was huge over in the UK and other parts of Europe before he blew up in the US. And that's largely due to where he was playing and where he was promoting his
Right.
music. And at the time, you know, the UK was big in the whole psychedelia
Sure,
movement.
sure.
And so they, you know, he found his niche there
Right.
before he hit the mainstream audiences in the U.S.
So is the key that, or was the key back then, hey, if we're going to take this seriously, we got to move to a big city?
Yeah, I
Probably.
suppose.
I probably wouldn't
suppose
say
the element of
100%.
that,
I
yeah.
wouldn't probably.
So
I
you have
probably
more
wouldn't say
exposure for
100%.
sure.
Yeah. I wouldn't say 100% of the time, but like, that's kind of like what we're talking about is, small town basement in South Shore, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Not exactly a hotbed for
Yeah.
metal, but now that it's like I said, you have the equipment to do it.
Yeah.
You just need the knowledge for somebody that can do it well.
And we always have the potential, I feel. Now that our music's out there on the internet, again, all these platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever.
Spotify, Apple Music, streamers from the ether.
Go check out From the Ether. Theoretically, we could catch fire overnight.
Yeah.
And someone
And it's kind of the same thing as it was back in the day. It's just a different means to receiving the music. Like back in the day, it would be like getting your record into a local record store.
That's true.
around the
Here's-
country,
okay.
like having connections at different record labels.
I think really word of mouth is probably the only thing that has remained unchanged as far as like how you might hear about music these days, because the things you were talking about where you're handing out mixtapes or you literally move to a city to just play bigger venues and stuff like that. I think all the internet and the ability to do this stuff from a basement has really eliminated the need to do most of that stuff, and you can get your word out not just on the platforms we're talking about, but also social media and like YouTube and things like that. So I think it's very different the way people get big, but I think word of mouth still is kind of king in that most of the music I listen to these days is because I've like heard about it from somebody, and then to a slightly lesser extent, like maybe a band that we played with or something.
I was gonna
that
say,
really
that's
like.
That's
at a
been
gig, yeah.
that's been more the case for me lately, actually.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, first of all, like it started off as word of mouth. So like say Prof Calf, the Morgana Phase,
Right.
like all these other bands, but then we get to play with them.
Yeah.
But then I actually start paying a little bit more attention. So like right now, it's pretty cool because I felt like I was kind of in a music listening rut in the sense that I hadn't found anything new for a while. I was just kind of going back and forth with the stuff I had been listening to. And so now, like, if you look at my recent liked, songs, it's like both of the Morgana Phases albums, Junro's new EP, couple of SPC songs, couple of Sunsinger songs now. So it's just like, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, let's just explore that because, that's how I find new music, where I think most people, or the average music listener, maybe just listens, they listen to the radio, where you're going to hear most people listen. I wouldn't say the average music
on
listener,
Spotify
but like
playlists, or like
Spotify
what's hot,
playlists, suggested stuff. I guess I don't know how often people like listen to the radio now. But
We should definitely
think
come
that's-
back to the changing role of radio, but like what you were talking about, I think is a really underrated process, mostly among musicians probably, but that, well, not even just people who are going to a show and are want to get the most out of that experience. I mean, even for me, if it's a show we're playing, I'll try to get into some of the bands that we're sharing the stage with ahead of time, because it's just more fun to know the songs, be able to sing along, that kind of thing.
You know what's funny? In that case, considering this past Thursday, shout out to Sunsinger, who's no longer a band, so Bogrot, Vanta Black, Frantic Endeavor,
And
am I missing one?
Shit, who did we miss?
Oh, Fathom Farewell.
Of course.
So all those
The biggest
bands,
one.
all those bands that have now come out of Sunsinger.
Debatably.
But like Brian said, Crystals, that song is fucking sick, and I probably wouldn't know that one off the top of my head. But then when Carrie said it, like, "Hey, we're gonna play this one," it was our first single. I went home on that drive. I put it on Spotify. Like, so now that's stuff. Like, I'm happy that I can find stuff that way, and maybe that's kind of where I'd go for a little bit, is finding some local stuff. What's up, buddy?
I was just gonna say, cue the song. We'll play a snippet of it right
Just
here.
a snippet.
Can we do that? I actually
course you
don't
can do
know.
I think if we just text them and say, "Hey, we're doing a pod,"
I mean, no,
Copyright.
okay. I'm talking about like the
gonna claim you?
concept in general. Would there be like an issue with playing music on this type of thing?
No,
well,
It's commentary, right?
it's
Isn't that
commentary,
protected?
and we're not making
I
any
don't
money
think
off
they would have
this,
to
so-
claim you.
We don't even have enough traffic to draw the attention of the government, or like
Which is
whoever
really funny,
enforces
because
shit.
that is how I feel about Randy Johnson's fastball.
Yeah.
It's like, do you remember the episode?
Dude is the wrong person here.
Well, do you remember the episode of Drake and Josh where Josh runs over Oprah with his car, And then Oprah signs the restraining order, and he's like, I got an autograph from Oprah. It's like, that's how we would get Randy Johnson's autograph, is he would sign the cease and desist. It's like, don't attach my name to anything.
Could very easily happen. And then this podcast would go right down the drain with it, which, given how this episode has gone so far, would probably not be a bad thing.
Good.
Okay, all right, fine. Let me put this out there, because I've asked this question. What do you guys think about or if you even think there is, a discrepancy between the amount of listens a band will have on Spotify versus their actual draw to a live show?
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting, right? Because it's something we talk about a lot, because we look and we see, it doesn't seem like we're gaining the traffic that, basically that we'd like to get, that we're looking for. But we're oftentimes very satisfied, if not blown away, by, who shows up to the shows that we're really pushing. So Yeah, what does explain that?
Well, but I just mean that, so for us, we, at our stage right now, we probably play to more people that listen to our stuff on Spotify. Now, granted, that's just because we just recently released something on Spotify. It's not like it's been out all year.
Yeah.
But you look at a band, say, like, is it Valoria,
sure.
Valoria, don't they had a song that had something like 80,000 listens or something?
Crazy.
Or Driveways that has like over 1 million listens on a couple of different songs. But are those bands selling out shows every single time? No. And but and I'm not knocking them, because their music is good and it deserves the amount of listens they have, but I just think that for us, we get a little caught up in like, oh, this band has this many likes on Facebook, this band has 3,000 likes, but it's not like they're pulling 200-300 people a show.
No.
They still might draw 40-50 people, which we can do too, and we have less than 1,000 listens. So I just don't think that one necessarily implies the other.
I think it's definitely a product of exactly what we started out talking about here, which is that you can get your music out beyond your local community with these platforms like so easily that they're probably catching fire in other areas of the country where they're not necessarily playing or not necessarily based. So, they probably have a moderate, respectable following in their area, but then you're seeing it reflected how they're able to get it out to the entire world.
Right.
With the
but
internet.
Then on the flip side, like what Brian was talking about, that hype wave that'll carry, there really isn't that anymore. Or it's not as dramatic as that, because people can instantly listen to anything at any point in any place in the world. But that, I feel like the bands that did that back in the day, you can probably see a relationship between how much hype they're getting and their following, because people don't have any other way of consuming their music at the time unless they go see that band, right? So like,
well, I mean, unless they release material.
Right. But you know what I mean? So like, say we release, another single, and it gets 50,000 listens, and a bunch of them are like on the West Coast. It's like, that's great. People on the West Coast will listen to us, but it's not like we're getting out to the West Coast to tour anytime soon. Yeah. So it's like, that doesn't, but I guess I'm working this out in real time, because then I guess if we had like an online like merch shit, people in California can buy our shit. They won't come out and see us, but they could still support us in that way. They can still support
you through that,
yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting how many factors are at play, changing different things.
I definitely would not turn my nose up at a following that sprung up in some other state.
I didn't mean to make it sound like that. I just mean we want the following because at the moment we want to fill shows.
Yeah.
We want anybody and everybody to like us, and whoever likes us, we're grateful for that. But I just mean in terms of, like we have a show coming up at New World Tavern, January 13th. That is in Plymouth. Spotify, Apple Music, Lost Art, and the graying. But that's cool. But so, you know what I mean? Like, we want to pack that show out. We really want to pack that show out. I want to pack that show out, but that doesn't guarantee that we would, just because like 50,000 people listen to us.
Right.
Which
they don't. By the way.
No, they don't.
we still got to cross that hypothetical.
Yeah.
What do you guys consider, though, like the most important platform for you guys to have the most following on?
Probably Spotify.
Yeah, not
the one I care about.
Not like Instagram or something. Like
okay. Well, I guess if you're talking about music streaming versus social media,
right? How do you compare those?
You know what's funny? I think, having seen them back and forth, I honestly think that our Facebook gets about as much traffic as our Instagram does. Our Instagram, the band Instagram, doesn't get a lot of traffic, but like say Casey and I's individual profiles when we post band stuff get a decent amount of traffic. With regards to streaming, it's for sure Spotify, just because that's the main thing everybody listens to music on now.
But I mean, there's other streaming platforms.
There
as
is
well.
other streaming platforms,
Like,
and we're on those too.
Do you look
We're
at
on
like
those too.
Apple Music and Amazon? I have Amazon Music personally.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't. I need one.
I actually don't know if we're on Amazon.
Yes, we are.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's weird, yeah, because like it's just our circle for some reason likes Spotify, but every so often I'll talk to somebody who's like, yeah, no, I use these other things.
Yeah, so I guess it's I guess Spotify just because it's like the platform. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
what
like
you're
the,
mostly focused on.
right, because usually that's people's first question is after they see us. They're like, "Oh, do you guys have anything on Spotify?"
They're like, oh yeah, I listen to Joe Rogan every day. You guys are on there, right?
Yeah.
Do we have a podcast for you?
This is a good break. I'm going to hit you guys with ad read from memory, unsponsored. So I'm going to pick somebody randomly. It's Evan. Hit me with an ad read.
An ad read?
Yep.
Like, you want me to make one up, or do you want me to do an
No,
actual ad for like podcast?
Either one. It's probably even better if it's like a regular ad that you hear on a podcast.
Well, everybody knows BetterHelp, right?
Exactly. Big
good.
fan of BetterHelp.
Thank you.
It's there's not a guideline for everybody in how to live their lives in this world or something like that.
That sounds right.
There's
Maybe-
something like that, and everybody needs help.
Maybe
sometimes,
you're
you know?
attracted to feet, and people are making fun of you for that, and
Maybe
you got to
that's it.
learn how to work through that.
Yep.
Maybe you're-
That's what the ad read says right here.
Maybe you're attracted to ladders, and you don't get what that's about. It's probably your parents and something they did.
Yeah, check out BetterHelp. You can not even look somebody in the eye when you're telling them your problems. You can just talk to them over the phone like a coward.
You sound like somebody who's used this service and been generally unsatisfied with it. All right, well, there goes the BetterHelp sponsorship, guys. No more of that.
No, BetterHelp. It was
Better
probably your parents' fault.
H-E-L-P,
And what promo code did they use, Evan?
Lost.
Yeah, that
Better
sounds-
HELP/Lost. Check us
Yeah.
out, guys.
Lost, Castball, whatever. Yeah, that sounds right. All right, good. You did a good job with that segment. I'm trying to introduce segments.
That was a good bit.
good.
That was a good bit.
all right. Good.
I keep
And-
hitting the
ad
mic
read from
cord.
memory, I like
also
that.
am
And let me tell
terrible
you,
on the
I'm
mic, so.
very excited with our we got this new Apple Spotify music. That's a fun new bit that I'm enjoying already.
Yeah.
And
What? What did you even say?
it's gonna get quieter every time, and the words will never be in order. From the ethers, check out Spotify. Listen to our Apple Music. Don't just make mouth noises. The bit is about more than that. Okay, good. And I wrote down what I was going to ask next because I was concerned that this would get us off track, which it has.
I have something I want to talk about.
Well, fuck.
kind of on the same vein. Because
Fine.
I think this is a big point of contention of what you brought up initially, is the kind of the flooding of the music industry, basically because it's so easy to record music now, so any band can kind of
Right.
gain a following.
I did.
That
wanna
is the
mention
prompt.
this. I did want to mention this. Yeah, like
But-
oversaturation.
Yeah, the oversaturation completely, in that it almost feels overwhelming to even get into a new band because there's so many other options.
Yes.
Kind of like the same
Exactly.
thing that's been done with the TV and film industry with streaming.
And that's kind of what I mean, where like we wouldn't be here without it, and yet we probably feel like it's detrimental to our ability to gain a following because people have so many other options.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword for a new band like us.
And not to go back to the past too much, but like when you do have a band like The Doors, where their sound was so inventive and
What?
strike that from the record.
I'm on track. I'm listening.
It was just like they were pioneers, and they had a totally different sound from what was out there. So
Yeah, an alcoholic screaming about nothing.
it was poetry, Evan.
You and me, Evan, we should be sitting next to
Beautiful
each other.
poetry.
But with
Da-da.
so many different platforms out there and so many different artists, it's easy for us to get lost in the fray. I
Yeah,
feel
for sure.
And but this kind of brings up something that I find rather interesting. And now we're talking about mainstream major label artists.
Same note. God damn it.
Mainstream major label artists. Do you guys find it strange that these record companies will pump out the same crop of artists constantly down your throats, and it's like, well, like, so you get, if we're talking Grammys, American Music Awards, MTV Awards, whatever it is, it's the same cast of people.
It is.
It's Taylor Swift, it's Bruno Mars, it's
these people are winning armfuls
Chris
of
Brown,
Grammys.
baby.
Like these people are winning. These people are walking away with like 6 Grammys.
But like, so Taylor Swift is one in particular. She just released the new album, same day as From the Ether. Check it out on Spotify. But she can't possibly be that consistently good for as long as she's been, and it's like they just keep pumping her out, and when like I look at someone like Billie Eilish, she's the up and coming, and it's like, it's funny how these major labels will choose the next chosen one, essentially.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
This is the person everyone's going to be obsessed with for the next 10 years. Deal with it. Like, you know what I mean?
Just,
it really, so it's great that we do have these other avenues for music, because you get so much of the same from what's mainstream.
Well, yeah. So I mean, like, I
think
think about that. Like, this is not a dig, but it's like, I have thought that in the sense that it's like, what is Dua Lipa doing differently that Britney Spears didn't do?
Whoa, don't come at Dua.
That's why I said
Dua's my girl.
I know that. That's why I looked
like
at you
Dua.
when I said that. But like, yeah, you like Dua. Do you, how?
What's your favorite album?
The
Tell me-
most recent one.
Tell me how.
I don't know the name.
Tell me how.
Keep shoving it down our throats. What is she doing that's different from? Yeah. Okay.
Tell me how. So tell me how she's a pioneer.
She's not. She's
Yeah.
not. But she writes excellent pop music.
That's
so,
fine,
like,
but no, but
she's just
okay.
a great artist.
No,
She's just a great
but she
artist.
writes-
Yes. Okay. So what you're saying, but what you're
Sorry,
saying
what?
right there.
Did she write it?
Oh,
What you're
that's
saying
another
right there
topic.
is, so you could, if you just take Dual Lips or whatever her name is, and everybody's got them, two lips.
Lipa.
No, but you just take her name out, put Britney Spears in. How is that sentence any different?
He doesn't like her most recent.
No.
album,
But what I'm just saying is like, but so what you're saying is like they just choose the next person, but it's not like they're reinventing
that's-
music. They're
no,
just
no,
like,
no,
hey,
of
it's your
course.
turn to make
But
pop
that's-
music.
But that's that's like the difference between Megadeth and Metallica. They both write. So
What
like
is happening?
Okay, I guess
for many listeners, Dua and Britney have different styles, different approaches,
Sure,
certainly
sure.
different voices.
Sure.
And they write good music.
Yeah, they write good. Yeah, I'm not saying their music
Whereas,
isn't good.
but they're both in the genre of pop. Whereas, like Metallica and Megadeth, both in the genre of thrash, but excellent on their own.
I guess I'm speaking about it as more of like a generational thing. You know, like, I mean, Britney's free now, so she can do whatever she wants.
That's right.
So that's cool.
She
But,
is.
you know, like her time had come and gone largely. You know, she had her fame. She would really, I mean, it's not like she's released
Her
any new music.
Vegas residency, whatever the fuck you call it.
But
Vacancy.
now, right? But now, I just mean like there was a long period of time where it's just
That was mostly a joke.
Well,
that's a graveyard.
I
It's
guess
a
I just
Vegas
think
residency.
I think it's just like the cyclical,
Carrot Top?
like filling a power void. You know what I mean?
But that's
This
that's
person-
going back to That's going back to my point earlier, where when the labels choose who's next, right?
That's- I'm trying to play off
Nicki
that, yes.
Nicki Minaj was like the preeminent female rapper
Yeah.
pop star, right?
Yeah.
Like that. I remember her videos in high school. I'm
Right.
like, oh wow, this is
When we were growing up,
yeah.
for sure.
But before her
For
was
her, Missy Elliott.
Missy Elliott, Little Kim.
yeah.
After her is Cardi B,
Yeah.
Megan Thee Stallion. So it's like that you always have someone waiting in the wings that the labels will kind of push through, and
Right.
then they decide for
Okay.
the public, this is the one that's going to be.
So
It's got to work both
But-
ways, though.
but
The
now that
labels
I-
wouldn't pick people who have no following.
Exactly.
Like,
no, I know
Yeah.
that, but like, okay, pretend
I think
for
it's
a second.
more of them finding a formula that works and finding the person that can execute that formula. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
With regards to Megadeth and Metallica, they were both coming up around the same time.
right.
As opposed to if you took Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj, Lil Kim, Missy Elliott, and Cardi B, and they were all coming up around the same time, who would get picked? It's a crapshoot.
Theoretically, they
You
all.
know what I mean?
Theoretically, they
sure
all
I
get
accept this
success.
premise, but that somebody's picked. But
Well, not
okay.
picked, but like, you know, I guess another example is like you look at like a band like Aerosmith. How many other bands out there sound like Aerosmith? probably
bunch that
thousands.
also made it. Yeah.
No, also a bunch that made it, but also probably 10 times as many that didn't.
And
Why
now
didn't
it's probably
those bands-
100 times as many.
But
Exactly.
so why?
It's
But
way
why
sound
didn't
exactly the
those?
same
Why didn't
band.
those bands make it? But Aerosmith did. Is what I. It's just
Well, I think that comes back to
Opportunity.
like
opportunity. I guess who you know.
Yeah.
You got to know promoters. You got to
like why do you want to be an independent artist is the question nowadays, right? Because like what does the label bring to you? And back in the day I think a lot of it was like they'll give us a record like
record
contract.
deal. Yeah, yeah,
that
exactly.
We'll have a good produced album.
Right.
Get
Now it's
access to their studios.
Right.
but now it's
Right,
not
right.
it's not so much that because you can record a great record at your house.
Right.
So really what the record label offers you is the marketing, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
really
think
the
that's a really
important
good
thing.
point.
And that's why a lot of
Financing,
these,
financing
that's why a lot of these
tours,
artists
it's a really good
merch.
like,
Right.
really explode.
Which is
But
a big
then-
part of what we're missing.
But then so I guess by our own points made about how saturated it is with music, I think then it does become important that you can back it up playing live and you can back it up trying to draw people to your shows because that's where people are going to notice you the most. And now you have, say you have 20 people, but all 20 people were super hyped on what you were playing. Maybe if all 20 of those people go tell one person, now there's 40 people listening to your music. You know what I mean? So it's like where you wouldn't necessarily have had that if people are only accessing music via the internet. Because like you said, how do you choose?
Yeah, it's weird because understanding all that, now I have this like underlying pressure that I feel to like when I see a band or hear about a band that I like that's kind of on the same footing as we are, local and just trying to make it. I feel this like extra pressure to like tell people about it and like make it my whole personality also.
I've
We're gonna phase Prof Gav. Just
also on Spotify.
yeah, Spotify. I'm proud of this.
Apple Music.
I don't know. I hate to sound like, just some shitty local metal band that nobody gives a fuck about sitting here like talking shit about extremely successful artists. But the thing about hearing you guys talk about all that pop music is like pop is just a different world. It's like
That's a good point.
There's a lot less dependence on how well I think you can play live, really even how good you sound. Like, I think about
Popular pop.
yeah.
Not underground pop.
No, and there's plenty of pop music that I have
Frank
tons of
Ocean.
respect for. There's some that I don't.
Yeah.
But there's also this like other dimension of people who are famous on social media and then like music is the next thing for them and they just like they go in with some producer who makes them sound passable.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. So there's
Anyone
that
can make an
dimension of
album.
things.
Bad Babies.
If you have
one
enough-
that-
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I don't want to sound like somebody who's like, we are so good and nobody gives a fuck about us.
No.
And there's all these people who suck at music. But like that,
I mean, that
nobody
no,
wants
no,
to
no.
listen to that guy.
That is everything I believe, but
But I just don't want
Pretty much
listeners to
summarized his
think I believe
personality.
that.
say it in a public forum.
That's not what I was saying though. That's
No,
not
it's
I
what
was
I'm
It's also
saying.
not what
Sorry.
I'm saying either.
And also to push back against your point a little bit. Okay, so
Let's do it.
yes, okay, let's take Dua Lipa for example.
It's not a good
Really
example.
into
I don't
Dua
know.
Lipa.
I don't know her
I
very well.
do like Dua. Okay, fine. So there's not necessarily a full band like in our world where we need to make sure we're tight, we're
Yeah.
playing well as a unit. She doesn't necessarily have those stressors, but I mean in her world she has choreography, she's got dance moves to learn along with making sure her voice is
Yeah.
solid. So
Sure.
they're still talented.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I'm certainly
And
not
it's
knocking.
still a lot of
I'm not
work
coming
what
in
they
any
do.
specific
No,
artist.
I like Duolingo.
That's our next
How long you been
sponsor,
sitting on
actually.
that one? God damn it.
I love
Like
Dua Lipa.
the past 2 minutes just getting red in the face, ready to blurt that out.
I really love Nadel's Dazim.
Yeah, again,
She
I'm
just
not,
released that new album, 30.
I'm not coming in any specific artist, and also like if you want to be known as a dancer, yeah, that's probably part of being a pop artist. But then I think we should be able to separate your music and talk about that because your dancing is not on the radio, like
Right, true.
So something
listens to the
be
radio?
said for that. Well, okay, yeah, and we can definitely talk about the role of of radio, but I don't know, just
That's a good point.
I guess
though.
I want to say a lot of this, and personally for me, just kind of, it's more just me thinking about like the bands that I really enjoy and going, you know, oh, all the bands that like got recorded and stuff, they're all so unique. And it's like, maybe, but how many other bands were around that sounded similar and they were just doing a little something different that caught somebody's attention?
Yeah.
You know, so I guess it's me just going, you know, I guess at its base level, what do these guys have that we don't? But not in a jealous, but not in a jealous way, in like a constructive way. Like, what can I be doing, or what's like another area where we could strengthen?
I think it's
in
exposure.
regards to who? Like, who are you comparing?
Well, like Zeppelin. You know, so no, I'm serious.
Yeah, we're just like Zeppelin.
No, that's not what I'm saying. We're not. But why? What I'm saying? What were the things that lined up for them that, you know, led them to where they were? I don't really know all that stuff.
Again, it's
and you
important
could say,
to take
you know,
time period into
Yeah,
consideration.
Sure,
it's completely different.
Nobody
Well, okay.
heard
Thing.
anybody sing like Robert Plant or do the things
Okay,
Jimmy
good point.
Page did on
Sure.
the guitar, or
Okay.
John Bonham on drums, and you know, as
So
a
then-
unit,
So then, how does a band become big now, in your opinion?
Well, that's the thing.
So do you
If
think
we knew
you think
that,
it's
I
harder
don't
now?
know.
I know, but it's a constant fluctuating thing because that's what I'm
It's
saying. Is
definitely
like there
it's
are
a completely different thing now. for
right.
sure.
So I guess to take an example of someone we just mentioned, Sunsinger. I think for a while, Sunsinger was kind of one of several different bands that we could kind of gauge ourselves by. Different style of music, but just looking at them and going, oh man, they are tight. They got good presence on stage.
One
they
of the
got,
most talented bands in
they're
there.
individually really good and then tight when they're a collective unit. But they their merch is tight and their social media presence is good. So stuff like that, where it's just kind of like, okay, that's a band where their techniques and their things that they do, we should try to do more stuff like that. And you could pluck Sunsinger and put another local band in, and you can make the same point.
Well, I think I do have a answer to this question,
Okay.
and I think all it really takes is one good song.
Okay.
One song that maybe appeals to the masses
a good point.
beyond what a full album may offer. If it's one that's palatable to a larger amount of people, you open the door for other listeners to pick up tracks that they appreciate and that they really like.
You're describing singles.
Well, no, but
he said, how does a small artist get major success? And I think all it takes is that song.
I like this because I'm gonna go off of that. Do people want to listen to a whole album, or do they just want to sift
Everyone
through
has shorter
one or two
attention
songs?
That's a good question.
For sure.
That's why
That's-
the TikTok thing is so popular. There are
Right.
so many bands that have blown up off of TikTok.
Right.
Just like
I
one.
And
found myself-
that's not even a full song. That's
not a
I
30
found
seconds.
myself
30 seconds.
asking.
30 seconds that grabs
a
people's
tiny
attention.
clip
I
of a
found
song.
myself
Right,
asking
right.
myself, do we write a song that has just one line in it that is just the most relatable bullshit line, like Taylor Swift's new song where it's, hi, I'm the problem, it's me, and people are like, oh, that's funny, I'm a problem sometimes, I'm gonna make a TikTok about it. And it's like, Katie could make a TikTok. It's like Katie walks in with plants in her arms. It's like, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Boom, 10 million views on TikTok.
Who's Katie?
Yeah, we should.
My roommate.
Katie.
She sounds terrible.
My roommate keeps asking me for a ring.
She'll get one.
Wants me in her TikToks.
She's gonna get one. So when she listens to this on her work commute, you're gonna get one. You just don't know
Oh,
when.
I'm not sure I'm going to release this.
She might even find the ring on Spotify.
But not Apple Music.
Just come to the gig. New World Tavern. January, whatever the fuck.
You could get a ring too.
Joe Rogan might be there.
The joke is, it's not a ring; it's just a wristband.
For entry. It's not false advertising. Joe Rogan might be there. We don't know.
Anybody could be there.
He's a talent
Dave
scout.
Chappelle, I heard,
sort of.
might come through.
You know what? Speaking of advertisements, I think it's time. Josh,
Josh?
who's
Who's
funding
sponsoring
this
this?
show?
Yeah.
Who's got this?
I would love to tell you guys about MeUndies. All right. So MeUndies are just like regular underwear, but on the internet. And so
It's like an
digital
NFT
underwear.
for your underwear.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I may
That
be
is- I
mixing
like
this
that.
up with another product, but I think it's like got separate pouches for your balls and dick.
Sheath underwear.
Is that MeUndies? All right, MeUndies has the sheath for your.
You're thinking of dick
sheath
sheath.
underwear has the sheath.
It has-
MeUndies
No, it's
is lame.
dick sheath.
Oh, So it's a different company, you're saying?
Dicksheath.com.
Ball hammock.
Okay. Yeah. So go to dicksheath.com for MeUndies.
Separate pouches
And
for
use
your each
promo
testicle.
code. Use promo code I've seen Josh's balls. So yeah, once again, that's MeUndies. They are exclusively briefs. I think that's correct.
Tidy whities,
Yeah.
yeah.
Tidy whities. They only come in the one color.
They have a pouch for your asshole.
Yep. And there is a
For when it prolapses inevitably.
Prolapse pouch. The exclusive MeUndies prolapse pouch.
Well,
Coming
we should say that's at extra cost. You don't just get the prolapse pouch.
exactly. So I mean, I've heard rave reviews from everybody who uses them. Like my dad, probably. That doesn't sound right,
Have
but
I showed you MeUndies?
yeah.
Why are you talking like that?
So anyway, use promo code I've seen Josh's balls at dicksheath.com for MeUndies, which is a completely different.
That's
website.
that's BALLZ.
Now back to the podcast.
Getting back on track here.
Good note choice, Josh.
We're like a half step away from each other. That couldn't have been worse.
Oh my god. I have to tell you this one story just because it just popped into my head, and I'm almost 100% sure it was Mike Bliss that did it.
Yep, that's why you need to tell the story.
We were in the music room at Old Rochester, and I think he tuned all 6 of the strings of a guitar to the same note. And when you strum it, it was just like, and I was like, that is funny that I want to do it with every guitar now.
I'm surprised we don't do that more. I'm surprised there's not more easy core bands doing that. Just bar the whole fucking neck.
shoegaze.
Easy chord. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we an easy core band? No.
What's easy core?
It's like, I'm glad you asked me that because I've never been
Like
forced
the
to describe
piano
it
music
before.
of metal?
What are we is the worst question ever.
Yeah, no. It's a so
elevator
easy
music?
core, and I'm going to be talking out of my prolapsed ass here, but it's like punk, but anybody can do it.
So punk.
So punk, I guess it's like pop punk. It's specifically pop punk, but it's like I think the easiness of it is like the emphasis in a way where punk is just like easy and nobody seems to talk about it in that community. They seem to think they're doing something profound.
By easy, are we talking
about
the
the
music
lyrics,
is
Josh.
easy?
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Is the music easy, or is it like
I
Commodore's
think the
easy?
music is easy.
Well,
no, I think it's the
hardcore
music
is not
easy.
called hardcore because it's hard.
No, it goes hard,
Goes hard.
Well, that's why I'm
Well,
asking.
I wouldn't say we.
but we don't
You
say
just-
goes easy.
No.
It's not
we
like
could.
that. I mean, it's melodic and probably pleasant to listen to if you like. I don't want to say heavier music, but like if you like pop punk, I think
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that definition.
Can
So
you
what are we?
give me an example of an easy core band?
Not really. I wouldn't listen to that.
Like Dance Gavin Dance.
Oh yeah.
I only listen to bands that
Maybe.
are hard.
Really?
But I don't know. I mean, they're easy in the sense that it's like they got some screaming and stuff, but they're more melodic.
Brian, are you looking up
Okay.
easy core bands?
No,
I like them.
Well,
that
I
doesn't
guess
mean to
I
say I
will.
don't like them. I do
Yeah,
like
yeah.
them.
Shout out Dance Gavin Dance.
Chris, do an ad read while I'm looking this up.
Chris, quick ad read.
All right, this pod is brought to you by ZipRecruiter.
Yes, it absolutely
The
is.
only way to hire.
The only way to hire. Have you guys ever needed somebody to do something for you, and you are like, I'll fucking
Yeah.
pay somebody?
I'm actually right now. I'm
Why
looking
can't
for
I find
a
anybody?
guitarist, another guitarist, and a bassist, and also a drummer. I want to replace all of us.
I think ZipRecruiter can help you with that. All you do is you just post the job listing, and then people show up at your house unannounced,
That sounds right.
You post
Yeah.
your address.
and
There's somebody at the door right now.
they're ready to audition.
Yep.
So that is ZipRecruiter.
What's the promo code?
The promo code is recruit RECROOT.
This is the only part I'm going to release, is the ad reads. Everything else goes right in the garbage. All right, I have some easy core bands here. Newfound Glory, apparently, who I am familiar with.
If you were to tell me they're an easy core band, I would say, yeah, I totally
Yeah,
buy
but,
that.
I mean, their stuff is not super easy. I don't know, whatever. Chunk,
What do
no
you-
Captain Chunk, I've heard.
Oh god, yeah.
This is a
I
band
used to
I'm
like them.
familiar
They got a big pop punk vibe, but a lot of their music was good. Too much emphasis on friendship.
Yeah. Bad. I got Data Remember on here, which that doesn't feel right.
No, that
Their
doesn't
stuff is
feel right.
tricky.
They're-
Your roommate's not going to like that one.
They're more post-hardcore. They got some pop punk elements,
This
but
is just according to Google. But
Yeah, but I mean, like again, I feel like we didn't define it super well.
well, that's why I'm outsourcing.
There's a lot of bands
definition
that
to
cross
Google.
genres, though.
Yeah,
They could be defined as multiple, especially how niche
Yeah.
the genres are.
Well, is
now.
easy core just hardcore that's more accessible to people? Is that what it is? Like because
That
either
sounds right.
like where vocals are a little prettier and more melodic.
Fuck, it
and
could be that.
Maybe.
I always thought it was because they're embracing the easiness of playing the music, but it could be hardcore that's more like, major key, like easy to listen to.
Yeah, because I mean, like people
don't
people like distorted guitar and breakdowns. I think a little bit more widespread than they like screaming vocals. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like you can.
Hot take. I don't know. About
Well, I mean, usually you just have one with the other, but I mean,
Screaming
like
is an acquired taste. I don't think that's a hot take.
but if somebody just plays something in like halftime and you're like, oh yeah, because I can vibe with halftime. They're maybe not even listening to what notes are being played, but they're just like,
Fuck, maybe you're right. Maybe it's hardcore with no screaming. Maybe that's all it is.
maybe.
I'm over
Which
it.
would come into a more pop punk realm because there's not a lot of screaming in pop punk.
Maybe to
A lot
bring
of
this-
vocals doing this.
Where are you? Can you play an example right now, Josh?
I can't.
Cut to a-
We
Where
don't
are
have that
you?
technological ability.
And I'm on Spotify.
The Spiders.
I'm in Plymouth on January. What the fuck is the date? I need
January
to-
13th. New World Tavern.
Jargon.
All right, to bring this fucking debacle to a close, I have maybe one kind of final branch that we can go down, which is we were talking earlier about how we benefit from having a few shows a year where people really show up in spades and we have a great time. We just had one recently with the EP release show.
Great show.
Earlier this you weren't there. you
Evan
fucking
remembers.
asshole. Earlier this year at New Bedford. No, I'm talking about it back in February.
Oh,
but
okay.
anyway, this happens every so often. But
We had a couple of really good shows this
Yeah.
year.
and so we tend to see a lot of friends. Like other than being a band, we are 4 people who just have friend groups that we can call on to kind of support us in those moments.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not controversial to say there are a lot of people there who wouldn't be there if they weren't familiar with us personally.
Yes.
I think
I
it's
feel
uncontroversial.
I feel like we think about this a lot.
Yeah. So, Evan, you are one of those people. Let's.
Let's talk
This has
about
all
it.
been boiling down to: do you like our music?
Would you listen to us? if you didn't like
Definitely
us?
not.
people.
Definitely not.
I believe you, and I can't
No.
tell if you're.
Honestly, I feel like you guys kind of. I don't have a ton of overlap in terms of metal music, right? But I've listened to punk music my whole life, and I feel like you guys have a little bit of overlap with some punk bands that
You
I
have the
listen
spirit
to.
of punk.
You guys have the spirit, yeah. That's what I was gonna say.
Spirit of easy.
That's cool.
Yeah, you guys are kind of like easycore. It's easier metal to get into.
I guess we sort of strive for that,
Well, because I think part
We're
of
not
that
like
is
a deathcore band.
No.
I
and
think if like I'm pretty used to like pretty abrasive music, so if it's like somebody who's not used to that style of music, like they like listening to easier style things,
Yeah.
it's probably harder to get into. But
yeah,
I think we're
people
getting,
who like the genre, I don't see why they wouldn't be into you.
I think taking things in a progressive direction in the way that we have been has made the barriers to entry high in a different way.
Right.
Where you just have to like those kind of like weird off-kilter, not only time signatures, but maybe
Yeah.
note choices.
That's
Who
something-
do we have to thank for that, Josh?
Yeah.
Some
That's
asshole.
definitely something
Yeah.
I think draws people into your guys' music is like the uniqueness of it, that it's not super homogenized like I feel like a lot of metal music that I've heard in the past.
I guess. I mean, you could say that, but then if you put us into the prog category and you look at who's inhabiting that space, it's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
oh, these guys aren't doing anything
Okay.
crazy. So I don't know. It depends on your perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
I've always kind of liked that we've, kind of walked that line.
Yeah.
Where I think the
But you guys aren't playing like super straightforward just
sure,
metal.
but
No,
I
not to.
you know what I think is a really good example
Some
of that.
songs might be.
They are.
Yes.
Think about the Last in Line show when we opened for Last in Line at the Vault.
Right.
There was we're opening for a band who is made up of guys that were in Ronnie James Dio's band.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of that following from those people.
Fans of just like classic, straightforward.
And we played a little bit of
2
that
and
stuff
4
because we got
shit
some
that
some
rocks.
stuff like that. But then like Odin Death, first song off from the Ether,
Right.
I had a couple people come up to me and say they're like, "Oh, that third song that you guys that was Odin Death. That third song, oh man, that was cool." Like, and it was cool hearing that from an older age group, like guys in their like 40s, 50s, like that really loved the old school metal stuff. They vibed with us. And then you get on the flip side people like, you know, Sunsinger and Traverse and people that like those more hardcore bands. We jive with them too.
Yeah, I like that we have a good spread. You know,
What was I saying to you, Brian? Was it that I think it's easier when we are the heaviest band on a bill rather than the least heavy?
Right.
I agree with that, but I'd rather be in the middle.
No, I'd rather be in the middle, but I guess what I'm thinking of too was the
album release show.
Yeah.
the album release show, yes, but I almost want to say too.
Were you the heaviest on that bill?
Was it the Halloween
Yeah.
show? Was it the Halloween show? It was Prof Calf, Bogrot, and Stag Bastard, and we were certainly heavier. I mean, Bogrot pretty heavy, but I'd say we were about as heavy as they are.
Really?
It's not like they didn't have the kind of deeper, really like rooted like stuff that Sunsinger had. It still carries vocals that are really hard, and they had some hard breakdowns.
Yeah.
But there was a more upbeat sense to it. You know
Heaviness
what I mean?
is like not a competition to me. Like I've heard so much heavy music that sucks. So it's
that's not a good gauge, but I just mean that like
I'm just saying I don't think being heavier is like being better.
No. But there was the Alchemy show prior to that where it was Fathom Farewell, and maybe what was like another two or three bands. No, that was a while ago.
Oh fuck! I think no. Shit! I was just listening to them. I can't believe I can't remember their name. They're actually really big. The one with
the bass player from
dude.
Or the
Falling in
guy,
Reverse.
yeah.
Forget the
That
name.
was
I was just listening to this band.
I'd have to
Why
fucking
can
look
I
it
not-
up. But you get what I'm saying. So like that show, I felt a lot more out of place because people were coming to listen to a certain caliber of heavy. And we don't necessarily meet that, but if people are coming ready to listen to
The Worst of Us.
the worst of
Jesus,
us,
that was gonna murder me.
So they were super heavy. So it's like
They're actually
I
really
didn't.
good.
No, they are good, but I'm just saying like I didn't feel as comfortable on that bill as I did the Halloween show because that was more middle of the road. Like you got some heavy, you got some kind of classic rock type of stuff. And I felt like we sat in really good with those bands as opposed to being the least heavy of a bunch of like deathcore bands.
I think for like a more general audience, they feel the like refreshingness of hearing things like the harmonies and more melodic things that we do, whereas people who are used to like deathcore and like really heavy stuff spend most of the time like missing that. Like we have a good mix of both. We got Casey on the harsh vocals for sure, but I think a group that's expecting heavier stuff is like notices its absence more than people who are more than a general audience misses. I'm not articulating.
I
this.
can
know
attest
what
to
you're
that
saying. I know
for
what
sure
you're saying.
because like I'm definitely coming from the heavier side of the vocal perspective. Like most of the music I listen to is more like thrashy kind of whatever you call it, Casey's kind of vocals.
Yeah.
And you guys definitely like get me into the like harmonies and stuff though.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, we
going,
try to,
but you go back and forth. It's not like I'm like completely missing, that side of it for a whole song. It always is like, on a pendulum.
That's what we try. We try to incorporate both into all of our songs so that there's a little something for everybody.
also we just find value in both, so we do.
Yeah,
both.
for sure. I mean, that's the nice thing about having such a eclectic mix of tastes is that from you we get I don't know, like the sludginess of Doom and Mastodon and the Ocean and the type of shit that you like, and with Brian we get the kind of like, I don't know, bluesy classic rock, like feel driven stuff. From me we get dumb odd numbers that nobody wants. And from Casey, I would say probably the heaviest stuff comes from
the heaviest stuff, but at the same time, like he listens to everything.
I know he's tough
It's
to pin down.
crazy. It's
But what he brings to the table.
what he brings to the table is heavy, but at the same time, it's not like he's never once been like, oh, why are we doing this when we should do it heavier? Like he more than or just as much as us, maybe more, sees a lot of value in those clean vocals too. I know,
And I think we all like everything we do to an extent. It's not like we get to a part and somebody's just fucking rolling their eyes.
not at
Like,
all.
No, and the juxtaposition is actually the important thing, is because
It's tension and
because you go
release.
back
That's
and-
all music
exactly,
is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been fun. Again, jury's out on if I'm even going to bother editing and
This is
releasing
going out, guys.
all this.
Hold on, real quick before we end the podcast, can we kick it to Brian for the last?
Why don't we
sponsor?
get-
One more ad
our-
read
yeah.
before we
So,
go.
get our
Yeah.
last
So
ad
this
read.
this pod is brought to you by Squarespace.
That's right.
Yes.
Of course it is.
Ooh, very good
So
choice.
a space for all your friends that are squares.
Yep.
Just the lamest motherfuckers
We're all
you
there.
know. You can just put them in a space and let them be there on
and
their
then,
own.
and then they pay us money, right?
Yeah,
and
and
then
that's how it works. That's how I understand how it works.
It's the only reason we do the podcast.
Yep.
That's good money.
And if you're looking for the promo code, it's promo code Randy Johnson. Please sue us because we want your autograph. Again, the promo code is Randy Johnson. Please sue us because we want your autograph. Thank you.
Should we get a campaign going for Randy Johnson to sue the podcast?
That sounds like another. We're,
Yeah.
we're always on the hunt for bits. We've got this fun whisper thing about you got to come see us on January 13th.
I want to try to get Randy
So that's a lot of fun, and now we should absolutely try to get Randy Johnson to sue us. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Randy
Yeah.
Johnson, you won't, you little bitch.
Is he
Come
still
sue
alive?
us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
No.
The bird is dead.
Yeah.
The bird is
The bird
very
is dead.
The bird's very dead.
He's kicking, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing
mean-
a Wade Boggs thing. He's in his late 50s. He
He's
lives in
drinking
Tampa,
96
Florida.
beers on
Real
a
question:
airline flight.
Are the Arizona Diamondbacks still alive?
They're dining.
They're all dead. Yeah.
They're dead. Yeah.
They literally. There's a massacre.
Arizona Dyingbacks, more like it.
There
am
you
I
go.
right?
No.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
They no.
Wait,
Story
is that-
came out.
Are
Diamondbacks
they
is
still a baseball
actually
team?
an offensive term for snakes, so they're working on a rebrand right now.
Canceled.
They're the
man.
Diamond
Yeah, they're like,
Commanders.
these damn Diamondbacks, they're all over my yard and they're ruining
It
my
does
crops.
when you say it like that.
It doesn't
actually.
sound good.
Sounds not
Yeah,
good.
I know. So shout out to
Yeah.
all the snakes that have been
Yeah. Limb challenged.
prejudiced
We,
against.
gonna go
we stand in solidarity.
With the
Yeah,
with
we're
those who
allies.
can't stand and they slide on their
Exactly.
bellies.
Slide
They-
around.
yes.
Yeah.
You guys see that video that they put the snake in like this robot suit where it's walking around?
Oh, I don't
That
wanna
was a
fuck-
Rick and Morty episode.
No, it's actually it
Shit,
was.
I
But
super
you guys
don't
see
want-
this
I
news
don't wanna
story?
offend
It was
that
like-
snake.
yeah, there's like this fucking Boston Dynamics suit. It wasn't Boston Dynamics, but it's that type of shit where they put a snake in it and it's walking around on 4 legs. I think it can control the suit with its head.
Wait,
Well,
what?
Cool.
this is incredibly
It can
dangerous.
control a suit with its brain.
I don't know if it's doing that or if they just put it in like a walking
They're
suit.
just making it walk around. They basically are like,
just wanted to
Snake has
give
no interest in walking.
the snake was dying from cancer, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation's
That
like,
sounds
this
right.
snake just wants to walk one time in his life.
It's an amputee snake.
I seriously doubt the snake has consent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Randy Johnson's Castball, hashtag amputee snake.
Yep.
But if you cut off a snake's tail, that would technically be an amputee.
Yeah,
snake.
it's amputated. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a smaller snake at that point.
Yeah.
Until it dies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you would say that about a human. You wouldn't say like an
just a
amputee
smaller
human.
human.
That's just not a human anymore.
Smaller. Yeah.
It's definitely smaller, weighs less.
It's true.
He
Yeah.
or she weighs less. It makes me feel uncomfortable. That's a good place to end it.
Limbless gets out there.
Where are we playing next, guys? What?
We
Oh,
are
right.
playing-
Guys,
January-
we are
Joe
playing-
Rogan, Dave Chappelle, Plymouth Auditorium,
Elon
November the 100th of
January
July.
13th at
Joe
New
Rogan
World
will
Tavern.
be there. 100% confirmed. Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle opening the
Interesting
show.
thing about New World Tavern is it's a 2-band show, so it's Lost Art and The Graying, and so we're both going to be playing. We're playing long sets, and we're really trying to pack it out. So
Yeah.
that would be
Got to figure out how to
pretty
do
sweet.
that first, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's almost a 0%
TikTok,
chance
guys.
I
Make a
release
TikTok
this
song.
before then. But
Make
if
a
I do-
TikTok song.
Nobody's making a fucking TikTok song. Well, I mean, so take me through that actually, because I don't know much about, like, do they have like a home page or something where you pause? This is the last thing I said to you is I'm doing a podcast.
Kylie.
She's not here.
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna make it today.
but we've been keeping her down here.
This is the only thing I
Go
said
check
to
the
you.
van.
Mom, go away.
Oh, Cora Lou.
You're wasting tape. No, this is exactly what I didn't want to. You.
Oh, I missed you.
We have all these wires. If any of them move, it's gonna fuck everything up.
Cora, come on.
Hey, go see Mama.
Cora, go.
Come on, you want chip?
And ladies and gentlemen, those are the true colors of our gracious host.
Well, luckily I'm the
case you
one
didn't know.
who edits it as well. So, all right, let's just do a brief pause here.
Brief pause.
Okay, I'm gonna pick up the conversation where we were.
Edit point.
So I
Keep
don't
that-
know
keep that
much.
in, Josh.
God damn it. Do we want to start over?
Oh, this is gonna be a slog. This is gonna be.
This is why we're doing this.